we're Absolute Post, and we're a medium-sized post-production company based in the heart of Soho in London.
So what are some of the challenges that you face in your line of business?
We do a lot of commercials, and the one thing particularly is time frame. You get shorter and shorter amount of time to do stuff, and the idea is to get more and more technically challenging, really. Whatever we're doing, that we don't over-engineer everything. We like to have a very clean and efficient solution to how we develop stuff.
Let's start with the Maserati project. How would you describe that?
Yeah, our work on the Maserati film was basically creating a kind of electricity effect that was going to go on several elements of the latest Maserati vehicle in 5 different little commercials that we did for them. And we basically went for the challenge of trying to create this electrical effect. And our very early tests were actually quite unconvincing, and anything that we had out of the box, for example, with other software and stuff, just wasn't looking very good. So we got really into the R&D with the effect and looking at old films and old TV shows and real world references, and really just trying to work out the best way to stylize that electrical look.
Our concept artist made some really nice concepts for us to get started with. But a lot of the electric approaches that we had were very procedural, and it meant art directing the electricity was really difficult. So what we ended up with doing was creating a HDA that allowed us to input curves into it, and it would do the rest of the work, i.e. Find collision points on the car and draw forks between the car and the electricity, calculating the age of the fork and running certain attributes through it to create like a continuous pulsing, so it always felt energetic and interesting the whole time.
Based on the creative brief on this job, we used Houdini throughout the job. There were loads of different effects that we had. But the thing that we're going to chat about and that we were really proud of was a big transition that we did, going from real world into a kind of virtual game world. And we did this huge shot where we basically fractured the whole real world and then watched it rebuild itself in a virtual world.
So our approach was mainly using packed primitives and running attributes along them to kind of change their state or their position. For example, with that main stadium shot, we shattered both the dome and the in-game stadium into the same amount of pieces. We then sorted both the objects along the same line, and what that meant was each piece knew where to land. We then used a few VOPs to kind of, there was a lot of maths involved into it. We ended up using the align VOP to get the cross section between the two objects, so that if an object is rotated downwards, it would calculate that cross section and it would bend it so that when it lands in the game stadium, it would land the correct way. So there was a lot of that. But even before that, there was so much concepting and art direction that had to be done. So we did a lot of different iterations of what that could look like. We built a script on the side that just testing what different shatters we can do. So we did a lot of greeble work, where we tried all sorts of different shapes that were built in Houdini as well, just as 2D patterns that we can kind of boolean through and create these shatters with. And yeah, we just kept running all the different patterns through until we got the shape that we wanted, the shape that kind of looked digital and kind of futuristic in that way.
And then we did a lot of play as well with the whole look dev, playing around with the shading, pumping different attributes through it and stuff. And then a lot of shading, lighting and comp play as well. Yeah, that was loads of fun. It's great exploring the whole thing.
So another project is Outlander. Tell us about this one.
Cool, yeah. Outlander was a great project. We were kind of thrust into it quite late, and it was a situation where a load of plates had already been shot for the last episode. I think it's the last episode, and there was a sequence with a river in there, and unfortunately the river, there was quite a lot of drama in this sequence, and the whole idea was that the river was rapids and was really moving quite quickly, and unfortunately when they shot it was very, very calm, and the whole dramatic feeling just didn't work. So then we had to recreate a river, and a lot of river, 100 odd meters of it, and basically we did all of that in Houdini.
What were some of the challenges that you faced when creating the water system?
With the length of the river that we were about to build, we knew we needed to partition it in a certain way. We tried simulating it in one go, but the more detail we needed, the farm just couldn't handle it. We ended up building a partition system so we can isolate the part we need to use and then splitting it up in a certain way and uploading it to the farm. We had an issue where it would require a lot of pre-roll for you to be able to have this big river flowing. The method we went with was creating a particle field that kind of resembled the shape of the river, and then that was the initial source for the simulation, which meant that our pre-roll was 10 times quicker than it would have been otherwise. The other thing we needed to do was we needed to create a whitewater system that worked correctly and in a realistic fashion. We used a lot of colliders. We ended up just building the riverbed and just scattering rocks in a certain way to give us that whitewater collision. At first we tried to use certain forces to kind of get more energy in certain areas, but when you push that into a whitewater solver, it doesn't give you the same realistic result as if you were just to feed it collisions. And that ended up working really well for us at the end.
In the coming months, we've got a really big character effects job coming up that we're looking forward to getting involved with and using Houdini for that. And then we're also looking into USD and Solaris and these kind of things, and just looking to consolidate our pipe into something where we can light everything all in one place, no matter what software, 3D software it's coming from. We're using Houdini more and more for more jobs. We're just about to do, there's another job we're just about to do right now where we're going to light everything in Houdini for the first time. And we've even got people that we're training, we're taking off their usual software and making them light in Houdini, and it's really exciting. They're really excited, and we're looking forward to going forward with that.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.